everybody, and welcome back to my channel. So in this video we're gonna make this beautiful cardigan. So it's not difficult to do. I absolutely love this pattern. I don't know if you can see it. I think the only tricky bit is the V stitches there, because you have to follow different pattern. Other than that is very straightforward. As you can see, it's got like little gaps, so it's a beautiful cardigan, maybe for autumn or spring. So yeah, what we'll need to make this is wool. I'm going to be using this bonus DK, and this one is 100 grams and it's 100% acrylic. Okay, the recommended hook size for this is 4 millimeters. However, for this project I will be using 4.5 millimeter hook, purely because when you're doing these stitches, especially the front post and back posts, you do need a little bit of a bigger hook, and I find it a little bit easier for me. But again, this is totally up to you. If you feel 4 millimeters is better for you, you can do that. Okay, now I did have a sparkly white as well for the flowers, but for these you can use any. And to be honest, you don't even have to put the flowers in if you don't want to. It's going to look beautiful even without them. I just put them in because I've got buttons that are flowers as well. Okay, so you will need buttons. I've got these flower ones, which are wooden buttons. I've got these from Amazon, and they're all sort of different. They're two sizes, but they've got lovely little patterns on them. But again, you can use any buttons you like. So we're gonna need about 4 of those. We're gonna need a yarning needle to weave in the ends, so you're gonna have few ends there as well. So for the cardigan that I've made earlier, I've used a ball and a half, and that one is for 18 to 24 months. So just as a guidance, you will need a measuring tape and a few stitch marks as well, and of course you're going to need your hook. So let's get started. What we'll need to do to start with this project is to chain 75. So go ahead and make your first loop like so and chain 75. I'm going to meet you once we all have our chains and we are ready to start with row number 1. Now that we've got our chain of 75, just to let you know that my chain, I'm going to just show you how long it is. It's about 44.5 centimeters long, and this is perfect for the size that I'm making. Okay, so to start with row number 1, what we'll do is we're going to chain 2, and in the 4th chain from the hook, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going to do a double crochet. So yarn over, insert your hook into that stitch, oops, there we go, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Go ahead and pop in a stitch marker on that chain 3, because the chain 3 does count as a double crochet, and it can be very easily missed once you start doing the rows. Okay, next we're going to miss the next 2 stitches And in this third one, we're going to do a cluster. So how we're going to do it? We're going to do 2 double crochets into that same stitch. So that's 1 and 2, like so. Chain 1, and then 2 more double crochets into that same stitch. Okay, so that's 1 and 2. And this is going to be our cluster that we're going to do all throughout our rows. Okay, there we go. Next, we're going to miss 2, 1, 2, and in this third one, we're going to just do a double crochet. Like so. Skip 2, and in this third one, we're going to do a V-stitch. So how we're going to do a V-stitch, there's going to be a few different V-stitches throughout this project. So this is one of those. So in that stitch there, we're going to do 2 double crochets into that same stitch. So that's 1 and 2. Chain 1, another double crochet into that same stitch. Chain 1, another double crochet into that same stitch. Chain 1, and we're going to finish that V-stitch with 2 double crochets into that same stitch. So 1 and another one. So we are finished with the first section now. So your work should look something like this, and you're going to see it's going to start forming that corner there. Okay, so we are ready for the next section. So this is going to be the arms section, where for the shoulders. Okay, we're going to skip 2, 1, 2, and in this third one we're going to do a double crochet. So we are very much following the pattern. Okay, like so. Skip 2, and in this third one we're going to do our shell, which is 2 double crochets, chain 1, and then 2 more double crochets. Okay, so we've done our shell. Next, we're going to skip 2, 1, 2, and in this third one, we're going to do a double crochet. Okay, skip 2, and in this third one, we're going to do our shell. So 2 double crochets, chain 1, and another 2 double crochets into that same stitch, like so, and 2. Okay, skip 2, and we are ready for the next V-stitch. So this one is a little bit easier than the one before. So go ahead and do a double crochet into that stitch, chain 1, and another double crochet into that same stitch. So this is very much your regular V-stitch. Okay, we are ready for the next section, and this is going to be the back. So we're going to skip 2, and in this third one we're going to do our shell, which is 2 double crochets, chain 1, and then 2 double crochets into that same stitch, like so. Okay, skip 2, and in this third one, oops, you're gonna do a double crochet like so, then skip 2, do another shell, skip 2, a double crochet, and so on. So for this section, so we've done one shell with one double crochet, so you're gonna have to make 4 shells. So you've got 1, continue with that pattern until you have 4 shells. I'm gonna meet you at the 4th one, and then we're gonna start the next V-stitch and the next section together. I've done 3 shells now, and I'm at my 4th one, so skip 2, and in this 3rd one I'm just gonna do my 4th shell like so. So make sure you do 2 double crochets, chain 1, and then 2 double crochets into that same stitch like so, and we're gonna skip 2, 1, so that's 1, 2, and in this 3rd one we're gonna do another V-stitch, which is the same as the one we've done just before, which is double crochet, chain 1, and another double crochet into that same stitch like so, and we are ready for the next section. So again, this is going to be the other shoulder, so we're gonna skip 2, and in this 3rd one we're gonna do a shell. So 2 double crochets, chain 1, and then 2 double crochets into that same stitch. Okay, chain 1, and then 2 double crochets into that same stitch like so. We're gonna skip 2, 1, 2, and in this 3rd one we're gonna do a double crochet, okay, like so. Skip 2, we're gonna do another shell in this 3rd one here, okay, that's my last double crochet for that shell. We're gonna skip 2, and in this 3rd one we're just gonna do a double crochet. So basically we are just following this pattern all along this row. Okay, we are ready for the next V-stitch, so we're gonna skip 2, and in this 3rd one we're gonna do the same V-stitch that we did at the beginning. So we're gonna do 2 double crochets, chain 1, double crochet, this is all in the same stitch, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, and finish it with 2 double crochets into that same stitch, 1 and 2. Okay, we are ready for the last section, so we're going to skip 2, and in this 3rd one we're going to do a double crochet, just the 1, skip 2, in this 3rd one we're going to do a shell, so 2 double crochets, like so, chain 1 and 2 more double crochets. Okay, so we are coming towards the end now. We're going to skip 2, and in the last 2 stitches we're just going to do a double crochet in each. Okay, so you're finishing this with 2 double crochets, and this is the exactly the same way that you started, or we started our work. Okay, at the end of row 1, your work should look something like this. Don't worry if it's curving a little bit, it will straighten up, but you can start to see the patterns on it. Okay, to start with row number 2, we're going to chain 2 and turn our work. Okay, so row number 2 is a little bit more interesting than row 1, and this is very much going to form the pattern repeat for our work. Okay, so what we'll do for this row is we're going to do front post double crochets, shells as well, and obviously we've got our V-stitches too. Okay, this chain 2 that we started with at the beginning will count as a stitch, so go ahead and pop in a stitch marker. It's very important that you don't miss that one, otherwise your work is going to get all wonky. Okay, to start with row number 2, we're going to start in this second pillar there, because we already got our first double crochet. So yarn over, insert your hook at the back of that pillar, yarn over, pull through. You're going to have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and you've made a front post double crochet. Next, in this chain space here from our shell, okay, and you can see it there, we're going to do another shell, and this is exactly the same as the shells that we've been making in the previous row. So 2 double crochets into that space there, chain 1, and 2 more double crochets into that same stitch, like so. Okay, there we go. In the next pillar, so that's that one there, we're going to do another front post double. So yarn over, insert your hook at the back, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, we are coming to the V-stitch now. Now, when you get to this V-stitch, it's important to remember that we've got almost sort of like 3/4 of that shell, so we will make another shell in that first chain space there. So go ahead and make another shell. That's going to be 1 and 2, chain 1, and do 2 more. Okay, so that's 1 and 2, like so. Okay, in the next chain space, that's that one there, you're going to do a normal V-stitch, which is double crochet, chain 1, and another double crochet. In the next chain space, we're going to do another shell. So 2 double crochets, like so, chain 1, and 2 double crochets into that same stitch, like so. And we are at the next section. At the next section, we're going to skip 2, and in this pillar here, we're going to do a front post double crochet. We've come to the next shell, so in this chain space from the shell before, we're going to do another shell. In the next pillar, we're going to do front post double, like so. We've come to the next shell, which is that one there. We're going to do another shell on top of it into that chain space. That's 2, chain 1, and 2 more double crochets, 1 and 2, and we've come to the next V-stitch, so you can skip 2 and you're gonna see our V-stitch. So what we'll do is, in this pillar here from the V-stitch below, we're gonna do front post double right there. Then in the chain space from the V-stitch, we're gonna do a normal V-stitch. So double crochet, chain 1, and another double crochet into that chain space, like so. And then in this pillar here from the V-stitch, we're gonna do a front post double, like so. Okay, and we are at the third section now, so this is the back. So in the chain space from the shell there, we're gonna do another shell. So 2 double crochets, chain 1, and another 2 double crochets into that chain space. In this pillar here, so this is our double crochet there, we're gonna do front post double. So follow this pattern all along this section here, and I'm gonna meet you once we come to the next V-stitch, which is gonna be here. So on top of each shell, you're gonna do another shell in that chain space there, and on top of each double crochet from the row below, you're gonna do front post double. So keep crocheting, and I'm gonna meet you when we come here at the next V-stitch. I have come to the next V-stitch, and this is very much the same as the V-stitch before. So what we'll do is we'll do a front post double in that pillar there, and then a double crochet into that chain 1 space in the V-stitch, chain 1, and another double crochet into that same space, and then we'll do a front post double in the next pillar there. And we are now at the 4th section, so we'll do a shell on top of the other shell in that chain space there. So again, you're gonna do 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 more double crochets into that chain space, like so. Okay, we've come to the next pillar, which means that we have to do front post double, like so. Okay, the next shell, we're gonna do a shell on top of it in that chain space, and 2, chain 1, and do 2 more. Okay, skip 2 and you've come to the pillar there, so do a front post double, and that will take us to the last V-stitch, which is exactly the same as the one we did at the beginning. So that's that one there. So we're going to repeat what we've done really at the beginning. So we're going to start with a shell in that first chain space there. So go ahead and make your shell in the first chain space, like so, oops, chain 1, don't forget to chain 1, guys, I almost missed that, and 2. Okay, in the next chain space, so this is the chain space of the V-stitch, we're gonna do another V-stitch, which is double crochet, chain 1, and another double crochet into that chain space. We've come to the next chain space there, and we're gonna do another shell. There's quite a lot of crocheting in this corner, but you'll see why. So let's just do the shell on there, like so, chain 1, and then 2 more, and we've now turned to the last section, which means that we're going to skip 2, and in this pillar here we're going to do front post double, like so. This is our last shell, so we're going to do a shell on top of that, and we're going to finish this row the same way that we've started the row, which is going to be with a front post double and a normal double crochet. Okay, so we've done the shell, so in the next pillar there we're going to do front post double, like so, and remember this chain 3 space, so that does count as a stitch. So on top of that we're going to do a normal double crochet, like so. We're going to chain 2, and we are ready to turn our work. So our work now, after that row, should look something like this. So it's starting to take shape. So we are ready to start with a row number 3. So go ahead and place your stitch marker on that chain 2, because that chain 2 does count as a double crochet. So row 3 is very similar to row 2, except that in those pillars there we are not going to do front post doubles, but we are going to do back post doubles. So yarn over, insert your hook at the back of that pillar towards the front, like so, and pick it up from the back, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and you've made a back post double crochet. In that chain space of the shell, go ahead and make another shell. 2, chain 1, and 2 more. And 2. We've come to the next pillar there, so go ahead and do back post double crochet into that pillar, like so. And we are very close to the V-stitch now, so this is the big V-stitch that we did. So in that chain space there on the next shell, we're going to do another shell, like so. Okay, we're going to skip 2, and in this pillar here, this is from the V-stitch, you're going to do back post double, like so. So pick it up, back post double crochet, like so. In this big chain space there, so that's in the middle of your V-stitch. Okay, so that's that one there. You're going to do normal V-stitch, so this is double crochet, chain 1, and another double crochet, like so. In the next pillar, which is this one here, so this is the next one, we're going to do back post double. So go on the back and do back post double like so. And now we have turned our work, so we are the next section, and we're going to start this with a shell in this chain space there. Okay, so start that shell. Oops. Like so. We're going to do back post double in the next pillar there. So this is very much the pattern that we've started with for this row. So you're going to do back post double every time you see that pillar, and on top of each shell you're going to do another shell. So continue on this pattern all along this section, and I'm going to meet you once you come to the next V-stitch. So the next V-stitch is this one here, so you're going to have 3 shells to do. So we've done 1, 2 more. I'm going to meet you here. We're going to do this V-stitch together, and we're going to continue with our work. I have done the last shell for that section, and I'm at the V-stitch here. So remember, we did a front post double in that V-stitch there, which means that we're going to continue with that, but this time we're going to make that into back post. Okay, so skip 2, and in that pillar here, which is your front post from the previous row, we're going to do a back post double crochet like so. Okay, and now we are coming towards the V-stitch, the next V-stitch space, which is here, and in this V-stitch space we're going to do 2 double crochets like so, chain 1 and 2 more double crochets. So we are making a shell, but this is for the V-stitch like so. Okay, we're going to skip this one here, and in this pillar we're going to do back post. So this is the one that we did a front post from the previous row. Okay, you can see it there. So we're just going to continue that, so we have to make it into back post now. Okay, so grab that one, and we've come to the back section. So for the back section, just follow the same pattern that we've been doing. So you're going to do a shell in the space there for each shell. So on top of each shell you're going to have another shell, and in between in those pillars you're going to do back post double crochets. So continue on that section, and I'm going to meet you once you come to the next V-stitch, and we're going to do this one together. So I've come to the next V-stitch, so I've done all my shells on that back section. So we're going to do a back post double into that pillar there just before the V-stitch. Okay, so it's that one there. This is the same one that we did front post double in the section below. Okay, and then in the V-stitch, in this chain space here, we're gonna do 2 double crochets, chain 1 and 2 more double crochets into that same space. So we are basically building up the stitches here on the V-stitches, because each V-stitch we actually add more stitches to make our work bigger. We've come to the next section, so continue to follow the pattern. So we're going to do back post double in that pillar there, the first one. So we've come to the next shell, so we're going to do another shell on top of that like so, chain 1 and 2 more double crochets into that space. In the next pillar we're going to do back post double like so, and this is our last shell, well, second to last for this section. So let's do another shell, chain 1 and 2 more double crochets right there. Okay, we're gonna do back post double, in this pillar here. So go ahead and do the back post double, and we have come to the last shell of that section. So this is our V-stitch, okay, and this is the same as the first V-stitch we did. So in the first chain space there we're gonna do a shell like so. So we are basically just following the pattern that we have been making. Okay, and one more. Okay, next we're gonna skip 2, and in this first pillar from the V-stitch we're gonna do a front post double like so. Then in the chain space of our V-stitch, so that's that one there, we're gonna do just a normal V-stitch, which is double crochet, chain 1 and another double crochet into that same space. In the pillar next, so that's that one there, we're gonna do back post double, like so. Okay, and we have come to the last section, so we've got shell there with chain space, so we're gonna make another shell on top of the shell from the previous row in that chain space like so. Okay, we're gonna skip 2, and that's gonna take you to this pillar there. So we're gonna do a back post double like so, and we've got the last shell of this row, and we're just gonna make another shell on top of that one like so. 1 and 2 more, and we're gonna finish this row the same way that we've started it, which means we're gonna do a back post double crochet into that second to last double crochet. So there we go, back post and a normal double crochet on top of that chain 2 that we did from the previous row, and chain 2, and we are ready to turn our work and start with row number 4. So your work at the end of this section should look something like this. As you can see, we are starting to see the pattern now. I think it's very pretty. Okay, like so. Okay, so and we'll continue with the pattern now. Okay, let's start with row number 4. Row number 4 is very much a repeat when it comes to the pattern of row number 2. The only difference is going to be the V-stitches, but I will take you through those. So go ahead and pop in your stitch marker on that chain 2 that we've done because that does count as a double crochet. Oops. Okay, next we're going to do a front post double in that pillar there. So these pillars, you're going to continue the pattern on them. So you're going to do the front post double and the back post double on those pillars. Okay, so you're going to continue, and on top of each shell you're going to have a shell. And I think it's very easy to follow pattern because you don't actually count any stitches, because you're just following what you've done in the previous rows. On the next shell we're gonna make another just on top of it into that chain one space, like so. And in the next pillar there you're going to do front post double, like so. We've come to the next shell, so again we're going to put another shell on top of it, okay. You will see that we've started with that back post double in that pillar there, so skip 2, so that one there, which means that we're going to continue to make those pillars like so. So do a front post double in that pillar there, and we have come to the V-stitch. So in this V-stitch now we'll do 2 double crochets, because we need to start building the stitches to form another shell later down the rows, rows. Chain 1 and 2 more double crochets into that same stitch, like so. Okay, you're gonna see another front post in there. Okay, so it's not that one there, it's that one there. So go ahead, continue with that pattern and do another front post double there. Okay, so you will see that we are starting to build up on the stitches there. Okay, so we are building more shells and more front post double. Okay, continue with the same pattern along this section, and I'm going to meet you once we come to the next V-stitch, so we're going to do that one together. I have come to the next V-stitch, okay, and this V-stitch here will be very similar to the very first V-stitch that we did. So in this chain space, what we'll do is we're gonna do 2 double crochets, like so, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, another double crochet, chain 1, oops, 1, and 2 double crochets to finish into that same chain space. So it's the same as the very first V-stitch that we did. Okay, so 2 double crochets, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, and 2 double crochets, all into that same chain space. Okay, we've come to the back section, so go ahead and follow that same pattern that we've been making all along that back section. When you come to that V-stitch, you're going to do exactly the same that we've done now. Then you're going to continue your pattern until you get to the next V-stitch. So this next V-stitch is exactly the same as the beginner V-stitch that we did, which is very much just the shell. And I'm gonna meet you once you come to the end shell. We're gonna finish this row together and we're gonna start on the next one. I've come to the end of row 4. I've done my last shell there. So what we'll need to do to finish, to do a front post double into that front post double from the previous row and finish this row with a double crochet on top of that chain 2 from the previous row, chain 2, and we are ready to turn our work and start with a row number 5. Again, a row number 5 is same pattern as a row 3, and instead of doing the front post doubles, we're gonna do the back post doubles on those posts there. Okay, so each one of these posts will get a back post double crochet. So go ahead and pop in your stitch marker on that chain 2, and let's start with row 5 with a back post double crochet into that back post there, into that first one. Okay, we're gonna follow the pattern from before, so each shell will get another shell in the chain 1 space. So this is exactly the same as before, like so. Okay, then we're going to do another back post in that pillar there, like so. We've come to the next shell. You're going to notice that your work is starting to get bigger now. So for example, this first section, we only had 1 shell to begin with. Now we've got 2.5. So your yoke will get bigger and bigger, and at some point we will connect the 2 V-stitches to create the arm openings, but not yet. Okay, so we are at that last back post double for this section. There we go. And now we are up to this V-stitch. Okay, so this V-stitch here will be exactly the same as our very first V-stitch that we did. So we're gonna do 2 double crochets into that V-stitch, chain 1, a double crochet, chain 1, another double crochet, chain 1, and 2 double crochets into that same space just to finish this V-stitch. Okay, there we go. In the next pillar, we're gonna do a back post double crochet, and then on each shell you're gonna do another shell. So continue with that pattern along this section, and I'm gonna meet you once you get to the next V-stitch, and we're gonna do that together. Okay guys, we are at the second V-stitch from row 5. So what we'll do for this V-stitch is very similar to the ones we've done before. So in the next chain space, so that's that one there, we're gonna do a shell. So this is something we did in the previous row when we had the same V-stitch to work with. So we're just gonna repeat that. in the next chain space, which is this one here, we're gonna do a normal V-stitch. So double crochet, chain 1 and another double crochet. There we go. Then in the next chain space there, we're gonna do another shell, and we are ready to start on the next section. Let me just finish this and I'm gonna talk you through what we'll do on the next section. Okay, so we've done that. The next is the back section, so follow that same pattern of back post double crochets and shells until you get to the V-stitch. That V-stitch is exactly the same as the one we've just done. Then you're going to continue with that pattern, and I'm going to meet you when we come to this V-stitch here. We're going to do this together and then finish row 5. So I have come to the last V-stitch, and what we'll do for this one is exactly the same as the one that we did at the beginning of this row. So we're going to do 2 double crochets into that chain space of the V-stitch, chain 1, a double crochet, chain 1, another double crochet, so chain 1, and we're gonna finish this V-stitch with 2 double crochets into that same space there. So let's do that. So 2 double crochets into that same space. I'm gonna do back post double in the pillar next to it, basically continuing with that pattern for the last section of this row. We've got the shell next to it, so we're gonna put another shell on top like so. Then a back post double in that pillar next to it, and the last shell before finishing our work. Chain 1 and 2 double crochets. Okay, we're gonna finish this row the same as all the other rows with a back post double and a normal double crochet into that chain 2 at the beginning, chain 2, and we are ready to turn our work and start with row number 6. Okay, again, row number 6 follows the same pattern that we did for row 2 and row 4. It's just going to be the V-stitches that's going to be different. So your work should look something like this, and it's taking shape and you can actually see the beautiful pattern. Okay, but yeah, let's do row 6. I think you guys know the pattern already. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna meet you at the V-stitches. So I'm gonna meet you at the first and second V-stitch, because the third and the fourth one are just a repeat from the first and second. Okay, so the third V-stitch is a repeat of the second, and the fourth V-stitch is going to be a repeat of the first one. To start row number 6, first of all we're going to pop in our stitch marker in that chain 2, because that does count as a double crochet, and then we're going to do a front post double. So this is very much repeating the pattern from row number 2. Okay, we've come to the shell, so on top of that we're gonna make another shell like so. So continue with the pattern of front post double and shells, and I'm going to meet you once we come to the V-stitch. So we're going to do that V-stitch together, and we're going to continue on the next section. Okay, so I have come to the second V-stitch for this row. So this is row 6. So what we'll do is, in this first space there, chain space, so we're going to skip 2 and we're going to come to that chain space. We're going to do a shell like so, chain 1 and 2 more double crochets, and 2. Okay, we're going to skip 2 and we've come to this pillar there from the V-stitch, as you can see. So in that pillar we're going to do front post double, and this is very much similar to the other V-stitch that we did, which was the same when we were just starting our work. Okay, in that chain space there just after the pillar, so we've got chain space there from the V-stitch, we're going to do just a normal V-stitch, which is double crochet, chain 1 and another double crochet into that chain space like so. In that pillar just after, so that's that one there, we're going to do front post double like so. We're going to skip 2 and we've come to another chain space there, and in there we're going to do our shell, and we are now up to the next section. So we're going to continue with this pattern all along the back section of our cardigan slash coat. So continue with this pattern all along the back section, and when you get to the V-stitch there, you're going to repeat what we've done just now. Okay, so you're going to do the shell there, then you're going to do the front post double, then you're going to do the normal V-stitch in that chain space, front post double, chain shell, and then continue with that until you get to the next V-stitch. I'm going to meet you once you come to the 4th V-stitch. We're going to do this together and we're going to finish row number 6. I have come to the last V-stitch of row 6. So what we'll do here is we're going to do a shell in that chain space there. So this is just the next chain space. Okay, so that's going to be a full shell. Okay, like so. In the next chain space, so this is the one just after, we're going to do a normal V-stitch. So that's double crochet, chain 1 and another double crochet into that same space like so. We've come to the next chain space, so in there we're going to do a shell like so. So this is very much the same as the first V-stitch that we did for this row. Oops. Okay, like so. And we've come to the last section. So continue on this pattern for the last section, and I'm going to meet you once you come towards the end, and we're going to finish this row together and start with row number 7. So I'm coming towards the end of row 6, as you can see. So all I'm left to do is just to do the front post double. Okay, just continuing with that pattern, okay, with that pillar there, and finish it with a double crochet. All right, there, like so. Let's chain 2. We can turn our work and start with row number 7. You're gonna notice, I'm just gonna show you our work. Okay, so our work has gone quite big now. We still got a while to go. So because I'm making a cardigan for 2 to 3 years old, my yoke needs to be in here about 14 centimeters, and as you can see at the moment is about 7. So I'm halfway there. Your yoke needs to be the size that you need for the age you're making, so please refer to the measurements that I've showed you at the beginning of the video. Okay, row number 7, again this is the odd row, which means that for these ones, instead of front post double crochets, we're going to be making back post double crochets. Let's go ahead and pop in our stitch markers right there into that chain 2, and started off with a back post double crochet following the pattern from the back there. So this is going to be back post, and we're going to make the shell just on top of the shell from the previous row, exactly the same pattern that we have been following. I'm going to meet you once we get to the V-stitch so we can do the V-stitch together. I feel the V-stitches are the most challenging for this project, especially for the yoke. So I will meet you at the V-stitch. We're going to do that together and continue in crochet. Okay, I have come to the next V-stitch, and this V-stitch is exactly the same as the second and third V-stitch from row 6. So what we'll do is in this chain space, so skip 2, and in this chain space there from the shell, we're going to just make another shell, and you will notice that now, oops, we've added one more shell to this section at the front. Okay, 1 and 2. So we're going to skip those 2 and we'll make a back post double in that V-stitch pillar like so. Then in this chain space we're going to do just a normal V-stitch, which is double crochet, chain 1 and another double crochet into that same space. Then we're going to do another back post double in that pillar from the V-stitch there like so, and then in that space now we've moved to the next section. We're going to do a shell and continue with this pattern for the next section. So this is the shoulder section, and I'm going to meet you once we get to the second V-stitch, and we're going to do, well, just before the second V-stitch, so that's going to be around here, and we're going to do this one together. Okay, so we are coming towards the second V-stitch. So I've done the last shell from that section, and you're going to notice that we have started with those pillars there, so we're just going to continue on that pattern, which means that we're going to skip 2, and in that pillar there we're going to do back post double crochet like so, just to continue with the same pattern. So we are creating more pillars there. Okay, in this chain 1 space from the V-stitch there, we're gonna make our shell. So 2 double crochets, chain 1 and 2 more double crochets into that chain space like so. In this next pillar there, so we're gonna essentially skip one. So in this next pillar there, we're gonna do back post double like so. And now we are at the back section, so continue with the pattern. So we are starting it with a shell there like so, and then back post double, shell, and so on. So keep on going until you get to the next V-stitch. I'm going to meet you at the next V-stitch. That one is going to be exactly the same as this one, but I feel this type of V-stitch is a little bit more challenging. So I'm going to meet you at the next V-stitch, and then we're going to continue our work. Okay, so I have come to the next V-stitch. So again, we're going to skip those two, and we're going to do back post double crochet right there to continue with that pattern. In that chain space there from our V-stitch, we're going to do our shell. So 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets into that same chain space like so. In the next pillar there that we've got, that one there, we're going to continue with the pattern and put back post double crochet like so. And we've come to the next section, so skip 2, and in that chain space we're going to do another shell on top. So continue with that pattern until you reach to the last V-stitch. This V-stitch is exactly the same as the first one, but I'm going to meet you just before, and we're going to do this one together. Okay, so I have created that last shell there, and this is just before the V-stitch. So we're going to skip 2, and in the V-stitch pillars, those are these 2, we're going to do back post double crochets, so like so. In the chain space there, we're going to do a shell. So this is going to be 2 double crochets like so, chain 1, and 2 double crochets into that same chain space like so. Then in that next pillar, so that's going to be that one here, this is the one from the V-stitch, we're going to do back post double like so, and then we're going to do a shell in the next chain space like so, and this is the last section. So continue with this pattern. I'm going to meet you when we come towards the end of this section. We're going to finish it together, and we're going to start with row number 8 at the end of row 7. So all we're left to do is just to do the back post double crochet right there, and to finish with just a normal double crochet into that chain 2 that we've done from the row below like so, chain 2, and we are ready to turn our work and start with row number 8. Again, with row number 8 is the same pattern that we did for row number 2. So go ahead and pop in your stitch marker in that chain 2 like so, and we're gonna start this with just the front post double into that next pillar, continuing with that pattern. So go ahead and do the pattern for this first section up until you reach the V-stitch, and again I'm gonna meet you once you come to the V-stitch. So we're gonna do that together and continuing with our work. Okay, coming towards that V-stitch now, you can see the front post there that we've made from the row below. So we are starting to form another pillar. So we're going to continue with that pattern. So do a front post double, the next pillar. Then in this chain space, okay, from our V-stitch, we're going to do 2 double crochets like so, chain 1, then a double crochet like so, chain 1, another double crochet, chain 1, and we're going to finish it with 2 double crochets into that same chain space. This is a V-stitch that we've done before, okay, and this is the one that it's gonna start creating another shell to just add to our work. Okay, so we're gonna skip 2, and in this pillar here we're just gonna do a front post double like so, and you're going to continue with that pattern all along this section. I'm going to meet you once you come to the next V-stitch. Okay, so I'm up to the second V-stitch for this row. So what we'll do is we're going to work in this chain space here, and let's go and do 2 double crochets into that chain space like so, chain 1, then do a double crochet, chain 1, another double crochet, chain 1, and we're going to finish this with 2 double crochets into that same chain space like so, and we are ready to continue on the next section. So we're going to start this with front post double like so, and a shell on top of that shell, and so on. So continue with this pattern on the back section, and I'm going to meet you once you get to the third V-stitch, and we're going to do that one together, but that's exactly the same as the one we've done, but nonetheless I'll meet you there and we'll continue with our work. I have come to the V-stitch now, so what we'll do is we're going to do 2 double crochets into that chain space of the V-stitch like so, chain 1, then we're going to do normal V-stitch, which is double crochet, chain 1, and another double crochet into that chain space like so, chain 1, and we're going to finish this V-stitch with 2 double crochets into that chain space like so, and we can continue with our work on the next section. So continue with the pattern that we've been making all through this next section, and I'm going to meet you once we are all at the last V-stitch, and we're going to do that one together. Okay, so we are at the last V-stitch for this row, so we're going to do the front post double. So we're going to continue with that pattern, and in this chain space what we'll do is we're going to do 2 double crochets like so, chain 1, a double crochet, chain 1, oops, another double crochet, chain 1, and we're going to finish it with 2 double crochets into that chain space like so, and we are ready to do the next section. So this is the last section for this row, So you're going to do that by continuing with the pattern on this pillar here and do a front post double like so, then the shell, and so on. So continue on this row until you get to the end. I'm going to meet you once we've come to the end of this row. We're going to finish it together. We're going to start on the next one. I have done that last front post double, and again please remember to finish it with just a double crochet on top of that chain 2 from the previous row. Chain 2, keep crocheting. I'm gonna meet you at that V-stitch and we're gonna do that one together. So you're gonna start this by putting up a stitch marker on top of your chain 2. Please remember that this chain 2 counts as a double crochet. Then you're going to do the first back post double. So continue crochet and I'll see you at the V-stitch. So I've come to the V-stitch. I've just done the back post double crochet there, and what we'll do is in this first chain space, there it is, we're gonna do a shell. So we are actually creating one more shell for this section like so, and for all the sections really. Okay, so we've created a shell. In the next chain space, so that's this one here, next to it, we're gonna do normal V-stitch. So that's double crochet, chain 1 and another double crochet into that same stitch like so, and in the next chain space, so that's that one there, we're gonna create a shell. So 2 double crochets like so, chain 1 and 2 more double crochets in the same chain space like so, and you're ready to continue with this pattern all along your work. You're going to notice that all the V-stitches have now lined up, so they're all the same. So continue making the V-stitches exactly like we've done here all along your work, and I'm gonna meet you once you come towards the end. I'm coming towards the end. All I'm left to do is just to do the last double crochet into that chain 2. Chain 2, I'm just gonna pull my yarn so I can show you our yoke. So our yoke is fairly big now, and I'm gonna take the measurements for the sides. So this, if you put it from the beginning, it's about 12, just over 12, just a little bit over 12, and if you put it like so, and we'll take the measurements for the arm openings there, we're gonna see that it's about 10.5, which is exactly what I need. However, because this is gonna be cardi coat, so it's gonna go over a blouse or something like that, I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger, and that is why I'm gonna do one more row, and that's gonna go in line with the yoke as well. So yes, have a look at your measurements. If your yoke is I forgot what I said about mine, to be honest. Okay, so mine is about 12.5, 13 centimeters, so I'm going to do one more. If yours is around 14 centimeters and the arm opening depth is around maybe 11.5, maybe it's a good idea to stop here, and then you can join me once we connect the V stitches. So that's going to be on the next row. Okay, so this is row 10. So row 10, very easy. We just gonna follow the pattern that we've been doing so far, and we're gonna start it with a front post double crochet in that first front post, and don't forget to put the stitch marker on that chain 2. And what you'll do is just follow the pattern that we've been making, and I'm going to meet you once we get to the V-stitch, and we're going to do the V-stitch together and continue on our pattern all the way to the end. Okay, so I've come to the V-stitch. So what we'll do is in that first chain space we're gonna make a shell, because this is very much on top of that shell from the V-stitch, really a couple of rows below. Okay, we're gonna skip 2, and in this pillar here from the V-stitch we're gonna do front post double like so. Then in that chain space there we're just gonna do a normal V-stitch, so 1 double crochet, chain 1 and another double crochet. Then we're gonna do front post double in that pillar there just after it like so, and we are up to the next section, and we're gonna start that with a shell in that chain space from the shell below and continue with the pattern. Once you get to the next V-stitch you're going to repeat this, because all our V-stitches now are the same, and continue with the pattern until you reach the end. Once you come to the end of this row I'm going to meet you there. We're going to finish it together and we're going to start with a row 11. Okay, so I'm coming towards the end of row 10. I'm going to do the last double crochet on top of the chain 2, and let's start on row 11. Row 11 is the one where we're going to connect the V-stitches and create the arm openings. So again we're going to start exactly the same as before. So do this first section. I'm going to meet you just before this V-stitch here, and we're going to connect this V-stitch to the next one and create that arm opening. So go ahead, continue with your pattern. Please remember that's for row 11 you're doing back post double crochets and the shells on top of each shell. So this is very much the same as any other odd row that we've done, and I'll meet you just before the V-stitch. I'm very near that V-stitch. Before we do the V-stitch, please make sure that your yoke is the size that you need for the age you're making. So have a look at the dimension that I showed you at the beginning of the video to make sure that you've got the right one. So for example, my yoke needs to be around 14 centimeters, and that's pretty much what I've got here. It's 13.5, which is fine, because when I connect the 2 V-stitches like so, my opening here is going to be a little bit bigger than what I need, but that's okay because this is a cardigan, so we want it to be a little bit bigger. If you do not have enough yoke, so if your yoke is a little bit smaller than it should be, then please chain maybe 1 or 2 more rows to make sure that you've got the desired height of your yoke. Please remember that the V-stitches, don't be scared of them, because we've done all the different variation of the V-stitches and it's gonna come naturally. Or you can always rewind the video just to see what V-stitch you need to do. Obviously if your yoke is bigger than it should be, then you need less rows. Okay, so I'm here just before the V-stitch, so this is my V-stitch here, and I've got this back post to do. Okay, so skip 2 and you should have the back post double crochet just before that chain space there from the V-stitch. In that chain space we're gonna do 2 double crochets like so. We would have done this anyway. Chain 1, and rather than finishing this in this V-stitch, we're gonna take the next V-stitch, okay, which is just here, okay, and we're gonna finish it here. Please make sure that when you put the V-stitches together, you put them on the same side so you can continue your work on the same side that you are on. Otherwise your work will come out wonky. Okay, so 2 double crochets, chain 1 in that V-stitch. I'm going to move on to the next V-stitch, which is just here, so you can actually see it. It follows that line and it's over here just in between those back posts there. Okay, so this chain space right here, and in that chain space we're gonna do 2 double crochets. Okay, so that's 1 and 2. Next you're gonna have that back post double from the back, so continue with that pattern and create that. So I'm gonna do that back post, and I'm also gonna make the shell which comes next in this row, and I'm gonna show you what our work looks like once we have the 2 V-stitches connected. Okay, so let me just do 2 more double crochets here like so. So our yoke will look like this because we have connected those V-stitches, and as you can see, if you actually connect these together like so, okay, because if we were going to do a row, you will see that we've actually made a shell, and this is going to be very important when we get to the next row, because that's going to be our shell, so we are not going to lose our pattern. Okay, so now we're at the back section there, so continue with the pattern, back post double crochets and shells all the way to the next V-stitch. I'm going to meet you just there, and we're going to connect the 3rd and the 4th V-stitch to create the 2nd arm opening. Okay, so I have done that back post double crochet from the V-stitch in the row below, and in that chain space from the V-stitch we're going to do 2 double crochets like so, chain 1, and then we're going to take the next V-stitch, which is this one here, and the space, okay, and we're gonna connect them by doing 2 double crochets into that V-stitch. So that's the 4th V-stitch. Okay, so that's 1 and 2. Please make sure that it's on the same side that we've been crocheting. Now you've got the back post just after that V-stitch, and we're gonna make another back post double, then the shell stitch just on top of that shell, and continue with this pattern all the way to the end of this row. I'm gonna meet you once we near the end, we're going to have a look at our work and start with the next row. Okay, just finishing a row 11 with the last double crochet into that chain 2 space from the previous row. We're going to chain 2 and we're going to turn our work, and we are ready for row 12. Row 12 is an easy peasy one. Go ahead and pop in your stitch marker right there and do your first front post double right there to continue with the pattern, and your shell. The reason why I'm showing you this is because this is the pattern you're going to do all along this row. Remember, there's no more V stitches, so it's just one continuous row. So for this row, this is the pattern that you're going to be following. So front post double, we are following the pattern of these pillars here. Okay, and then we are doing our shell stitch on top of each shell into that chain space, and you're gonna do that all along this row. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna meet you here where we connected our V-stitch, just to show you how we're gonna do this part here, and then you can continue with the pattern. Okay, so I've come here where we've connected our 2 V-stitches. Remember, we did one half of the shell stitch on one side and another half on the other side. So I've done my front post double, which means that in here we need to do a shell. So that's what you're going to do. Just in here, in between those 2 sections, we're just going to do a shell. So 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 more double crochets into that same space, and you're ready to continue with the pattern. So you're going to do the front post double from that other section and so on. This is exactly the same thing that you're going to do once you reach the second arm opening. In here you're just going to do a shell. So keep crocheting, follow that pattern, and I'm going to meet you at the end of that row, and then we're going to start on the next one. So I have come to the end of that row, so that was row 12. Your work should now look something like this. So you should have the top already completed. What can I tell you guys? I think it looks beautiful. I absolutely love this pattern, and I think it just looks so cute. Okay, we are ready for row 13. Row 13, it's again going to be easy peasy row, because you're going to repeat the same pattern, except this time, rather than doing front post double crochets, you're going to be doing back post. So let's chain 2, pop in a stitch marker. Oh, I think I've lost my stitch marker, guys. I don't know where it is, but pop in your stitch marker. I will find mine eventually. Oh gosh, maybe not. Okay, and we're gonna start this with back post double crochet like so, then the shell stitch in that chain space on top of the shell stitch from the row below, and this is pretty much the pattern you're going to do all along row 13. I'm going to meet you once we come to the end of this row, and we're going to continue on our work. So keep crocheting. You should have the shell now on that just underneath the arm openings there, so it should be very easy to follow. just one long row of pattern. Okay guys, so let's finish row 13 together and chain 2. What we'll do next for row 14 and 15, you're going to repeat what we've done for row 12 and 13. So repeat the last 2 rows, and I'm going to meet you once we're at row 16. We're going to start that one together because we're going to be doing a little bit of increase in row 16. So keep crocheting, and I'm going to see you in a jiffy. Okay, so I've done 2 extra rows, and this is what my work looks like now. What I wanted to talk to you guys about is that if you want your work to get a little bit bigger here at the chest and going down, what you can do is, instead of doing 2 double crochet, chain 1 and 2 double crochet, you can make 3 double crochets, chain 1 and 3 double crochet. Just make sure that you space them out evenly across your work, and that's gonna make your work go a little bit wider. This is a good idea, especially if you're crocheting for young babies, because they do wear nappies, so you might want to make your work a little bit wider. I'm not gonna do that because mine is the size that I want it to be, so I'm just gonna show you what my chest size is. So if I go from here, so that's gonna give me around 28 centimeters, which is fine for what I'm making, but you've got that option. So go ahead, continue with this pattern until you have the length that you need, and then come back to the video and we're gonna do the sleeves together.